Okay, are you guys ready for another schizo rant? I mean, I don't really think it's schizo, and it's definitely not a rant. It's more of a sort of amble. But I know that some people out there just aren't open to certain things, and they label things that are a little off the beaten path. As far as subject matter goes, they label it schizo, especially when it involves numbers and consideration of numbers. And I've got to say, I'm not a numerical sort of person. Generally speaking, I'm not a gematria type of guy. I don't. It's like when there's a big deal made about numbers and number combinations and things like that. It just seems like often anything can mean anything, and I just find that boring. It's like they make it mean something by by sort of stretching things, like, oh wow, this equals this 43. It's actually equals 21 because 4 minus 3 is 1, and 3 plus 4 3 plus I don't know. Uh, you know what I'm saying? They find some way to make it fit into their what they're looking for, and I'm not for that. I can't go for that. No can do. But when numbers are um, when numbers assume a different valence, if you will, when a certain combination of numbers, when you come to notice that they signify something new that they didn't signify before, um, or when something that has always meant a particular thing, has always signified a particular thing. Uh, when you notice there is, or there could be said to be a sort of parallel meaning with another use of that same number, then I think that's kind of interesting. Now, a little while ago, I talked about how in a similar schizo post, I talked about the number combination 404. Now, when I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, or in Metro Atlanta, uh, Atlanta suburbs, we had the area code 404. It was the area code for the whole area, the whole Atlanta area, both the downtown area and all the suburbs. But as Atlanta grew into the monstrosity that it is today, they started to make different area codes for different parts of the city, and so it got to be that only the downtown was 404, and the surrounding counties were either 770 or 678, and that's still how things stand right now, unless there are other area codes in the Atlanta area that I'm not aware of. Um, but I remember talking about that, about how we went from 404 area code to 404 error, page not found. That's in another video that I recorded a while ago. And this time around, I want to think about excuse me, it's a little bit late, but late night. This is a late night meditation kind of thing, kind of deal here. I want to consider 2020. Now, I've got to say, here's a personal thing. Okay, the code the the code that I used to I used to have to open a certain door, a certain important door, uh, was at one point 2020. It just got to be that way. I don't know how it got to be that way, but that's what it was, and it was 2020 before the year 2020. So, uh, that's kind of an interesting synchronicity too. Now, when you think 2020, what does 2020 mean? It means perfect vision. It means you see perfectly. Uh, there's no better eyesight than 2020 eyesight. Someone with 2020 eyesight um, can see everything that it's possible to see with, within the scope of human eyesight. Okay, so a person with 2020 vision uh, can can make out everything that there is to make out. And I was just thinking today, thinking back on the mess that was 2020, because I'm actually writing about it now. I'm writing this this new piece that I'm doing, where I take a bunch of articles that I wrote in 2020, which I initially published at Affirmative Right, but which have been since removed from Affirmative Right by the current editor, but which thankfully I also posted elsewhere. Otherwise, they would just be lost. They'd just be gone. Thanks a lot, current editor of Affirmative Right. You're a real mensch, you know. You're a hell of a guy. But in this case, I averted them just those articles just disappearing into the ether. Now, and I'm writing now some responses to those articles, and what I'm going to publish is both those original 12 articles and my new thoughts on the issues that are raised in those 12 articles regarding things that happened in 2020, things that were in the news in 2020. Uh, Now, I've talked before about how, the word apocalypse mostly has a negative connotation, and it has a negative valence. It's when you hear apocalypse, you think buildings are collapsing, the sky is falling, the world is ending, um, uh, and so forth. But another definition of apocalypse that's not as well known, but equally valid, is that the apocalypse means when that which is hidden renders itself manifest. When we see what's really there to be seen, um, and there are all the things that were kept from us are now plain to the sight, are now perfectly visible. So I was just thinking today of how it makes sense in a way, even though 2020 was a year of chaos um, and tumult, and it seemed like a year where everything was falling apart because everything was falling apart. I mean, everything stayed together. Things still stayed together, but yet the world was changed forever. And um, things that were hidden were rendered truly manifest in 2020. in 2020, it became clear to everybody with eyes to see and with the courage to be honest with themselves that our ruling class intends us harm, intends us intends to bring great harm to us, and is not on our side, and is not above acting in our acting in a manner that is very much to our detriment. It's not above lying to an immense degree, which is what happened in 2020. We were lied to. We were lied to uh, on a scale that perhaps has never been attempted before. I mean, yeah. I mean, the big lie. It's a part of it's a part of everything. It's a part of it's the Machiavellian side of statecraft, so called. It's if you're gonna get people to do something, you tell them a big lie because they're not going to doubt the big lie. They're going to say how could they lie about something so big? It must be true. Well, in 2020, they lied about things that were huge, and people bought into it, even though it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any damn bit of sense. But for those who had eyes to see, for those who were paying attention, this was actually a moment where things were revealed to us. And that's a positive takeaway from 2020. There are all kinds of negative takeaways. There are all kinds of ways of saying the 2020 was bad because of this, because of this, because of that. And, to see it as a bad thing. And it was a bad thing. But I'm talking about the good that comes out of bad. Because the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, they are not the ultimate power. The ultimate power is above the principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, which arrogate to themselves demonically the power that is not properly theirs. But true power is above them. And if one keeps his eyes on the prize, one sees that in the year 2020, which also just happened to be the combination to open a door for me, the way to get in was by punching 2020. That was another meaning that it had for me, just on my on a personal level. Maybe it has maybe you have other maybe 2020 has manifested itself in your life in some way or other too. But I just think that in retrospect, seeing 2020 as the year when the scales truly fell and we truly saw that the emperor was butt naked. That's what 2020 was.